Alright, guys. So this is going to be my review of Pet Semetary Bloodlines, the prequel to Pet Semetary that is on Paramount Plus that you can watch if you have Paramount Plus. I have said that I will be doing if they're streaming movies, I'll do them here on YouTube. Theatrical movies like Exorcist Believer, those are going to be on Patreon exclusively on the first tier. So if you do want to get my thoughts on Exorcist Believer, just hit the link below, head on over there, hit the first tier, there you go. Now, this movie, I gotta say, I'm not, Pet Semetary is a franchise that I have been always about. The first movie's good, to a degree. I think Fred Gwynn carries that movie, and I think the second half is fun. The second movie's balls out insane. The remake is boring as shit. And this movie is here. Now, here's my thing with prequel horror movies. Prequel horror movies are... They're more miss than hit, because they're basically telling you the story before you know it. You know how this is going to end. And now, not to say every prequel horror movie is bad. A perfect example of this is actually a Paramount Plus exclusive, The Orphan First Kill. That movie was very well done. That movie was a very well done prequel, and I actually enjoyed it more on the same level as the first movie. But this movie, I was I think you could do something interesting, but the problem is they went with a story that no one gives a shit about. It's basically, the story is Judd's tale to what's his name? Lewis Creed about Timmy Baterman. And I'm yeah, we know that story. And it's and it's in concept, it's an interesting idea. But then they bring in, and I'll talk about it a bit more. They bring in another concept in this movie where I'm why didn't we get that as a movie? Why didn't we get that as a film? So yes, the story is about Judd Crandall, a young Judd Crandall in 1969, about to leave Ludlow, but then evil forces pull him back in when his former friend Timmy Baterman was resurrected by his father after he went to the pet cemetery and brought back his son, and now he has the ability. He's demonic and killing people, as well as whispering secrets that no earthly person would know. Now, let's get to the positives first. Let's talk about some positives before I go into the negatives. The positives are, this is a very well acted movie. I think the main character, though, of Judd is just kind of boring, and his friendship never feels fleshed out. They do cutaways to him and Timmy, and this other character, Manny, who's Native American. And they have some cutaways to them being friends, but it's the same goddamn thing of them being friends and drinking a beer for the first time in a clubhouse. And I feel that was a deleted scene, but they just got rid of it. And also there's a scene of them just hanging out in a field, being buds. I feel if that was the opening scene of them being kids, then cut away to, because it literally opens up with Timmy's father, who's played by David Duchovny, digging, burying his boy in the cemetery, in the burial grounds. And I'm that's such a... It gives, at no point do I feel these guys were friends, especially when with their friends with Tim. I understand that, he's undead, but, at the same time, I'm I really feel it would have been so much better if, the opening scene was them being friends, just hanging out, having a few beers as kids. Again, I do feel that was meant to be a deleted. That feels more like a deleted scene they had to edit in to make us feel something. But I feel if they went with that and then instantly cut to Timmy's dead. Timmy's dead, and now now we cut to that scene of his father burying him in this pet cemetery. That would have worked better. I feel it would have given us a little more emotional gravitas. But here it's I feel nothing. Now, the supporting characters around, David Duchovny and some other character actors, are really good. And I really do think this is a well-acted movie. It really does, those supporting cast does carry the film emotionally. I also feel there's some good carnage candy in here. There's some, I do love me some gore. But there's also some weird cutaways, like it didn't know if this movie wanted to be PG-13 or R. But when it does do gory kills, I'm like, that was cool. Like, I was like, that's nice. I'm nice this got the budget to do stuff like that. And it's shot very well. I really dug the cinematography in here. It's shot very well. Like, there's some great atmospheric scenes. They're really good. So those are the positives. So let's get into the negatives. The negatives, starting with, there's literally a scene, and also, can we just, there's a scene where Judd and his friend go to find out about, the history of Ludlow, where you, instead of going to a library, oh no, we've used that trope too much, they go to a church and find a drunk Irish Catholic priest there. Can movies just stop with that, and I'm not saying, it's such a bad representation of Catholic priests and whatnot. No, I'm saying, I've seen it so many goddamn times, it's annoying. Like, I've seen so many times of the drunk priest, or the drunk Irish priest, or the Irish priest in general. I've seen it so many goddamn times, it's annoying. Like, it's a trope at this point. And the character looks like he was meant to be a character, and then they're like, we have too many characters, get rid... he's in for one scene. And then, when they're looking through the information about the foundation of Ludlow, they cut to this great, atmospheric scene of the early settlers coming and meeting the Micmac tribes, and I'm like, why didn't we get this as the movie? Why didn't we get Pet Semetary Origins, where it's more like some dark atmospheric horror film and something akin to The Witch? No, God, no, that'd be too interesting. No, we're just gonna stick with an idea and play with that. So I'm watching that cutaway scene to the settlers of Ludlow doing that scene. I'm like, why didn't we get this movie? This would have been way more interesting, something akin to The Witch, or something like a folk horror in a way. I'd have been totally down for that. Just instead of blood, and why they call, and you've probably been wondering, why do they call this Bloodlines? Glad you asked, because it turns out that one of the founding members was Crandall. Yeah, Judd Crandall's part of a bloodline that is meant to protect the the people of Ludlow, as well as the world, from this hellmouth. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a hellmouth, apparently, because the director thought, nah, it's not the Wendigo. There never was a Wendigo. It's just an evil atmospheric force. I'm like, fuck you. The Wendigo has been something we've wanted for 3 fucking movies. And you're just gonna retcon that it's not really it's not the Wendigo. It's a fucking just oogity boogity boo evil, some nameless evil. And I get that Stephen King shtick. A lot of Stephen King's stuff is just random evil thing. But at the same time, I'm like, if you love the book so much, why did you change it to that? Ugh, goddamn. And also, the thing about Crandall being part of a bloodline that's meant to protect the world from the hell, this evil in Ludlow, I literally went, well, he fucking failed that in about, 30 years. He's gonna fail that in about a good 30 years from now, if this is the day and age, because he's the reason Lewis Creed, buries his cat and then gets the influence to, bury his son there. Because you introduced him to it. Great fucking guarding job there, Judd. Also, they also have to be the only way to surefire kill them is shoot them in the eyes. And I'm like, well, Lewis clearly didn't need to shoot his son in the eyes. He just needed to stab him up with drugs so he could wander around and go, no fair, and hit the ground. Kid, life's not fair. But you won't live long enough to see it. Oof, that was that's a joke even I was like, that's a little fucked up. Anyway. It's just... There is a lot of wrong. I will say that it goes at a nice pace. For a 90-minute movie, it doesn't stay too long. But you don't get the emotional impact that the first movie had. And it's clearly trying to be its cake and eat it too, where it really feels like it wants to be both a prequel to the remake as well as the original film. And I'm like, pick a fucking lane here, movie. But yeah, none of it, like, a lot of the main characters are just there to be like, ooh, we're so cute, you know, we're the, you know, CW cast, while the, you know, character actors are getting namelessly killed and carrying the fucking movie the best they can. But yeah. Also, I got really tired of them going, sometimes dead is better, and then it cuts. They do it, like, one time I'm like, alright, fine. Twice, I'm like, fuck you, you already used it. And then when they do it a third time, I'm like, this is where it cuts to something else, right? And thank God they didn't. So, should you watch Pet Semetary Bloodlines? I mean, if you got Paramount and you got Paramount Plus and got nothing else better to do, fuck it, go ahead. But honestly, it's not worth your time, really. It's not. It's shot nice. There's some good character actors, but on a whole, there's no emotional weight to the film. There's no, like, they retcon the biggest part of the franchise. Yeah. It like, and again, there's a segment in here that will make you go, why didn't we get that as the movie? Why isn't that the movie? And this prequel that we know is going to be the story and how it ends. That's what we're doing, right? Sure, fuck it. Anyway, so there you go, guys. That's my review for Pet Semetary Bloodlines. You guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of it? Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time. The Multiverse.